Today on Talk It Out.
Hey, Talk It Out viewers. Election time is around the corner, so I'm going around campus to hear what you guys think about the candidates. Let's hear what some of you have to say.
Hi, my name is Delano Pereira. I'm actually the vice president of the College Republicans.
Which two candidates do you think will be going up against one another in the upcoming election?
Well, I think most likely what will happen is that Ben Carson will end up taking over from Donald Trump. I think a lot of the other candidates are kind of like splitting the votes. There's about like 10 right now or more. So I think eventually when people start to drop, it's going to end up being between Ben Carson and Donald Trump. And I think Ben Carson will have the better lead because he's really building up. And out of the Democratic side, I think it's probably either going to be Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. I'm thinking that Bernie will take over because Hillary's kind of has her iffies about her. So I'm hoping it's between Carson and Bernie. So
I definitely think that Hillary Clinton has a good chance in there, as well as Bernie Sanders. I really like both of them. They seem to be really good candidates, have very strong platforms. I'm definitely thinking about going towards one of those.
And who do you think they'll be competing against on the Republican side?
Honestly, I don't know, and I can't say honestly. I know that Donald Trump is up in the races as well as Ben Carson, so they seem to be going head to head.
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that I would really approve of. Maybe Ron Paul, maybe?
I feel like it's probably likely that it's going to be Clinton on the Democrat and Jeb Bush on the Republican because, like, they're the people who most people know, and like statistically that's what usually happens in elections.
So who do you want to win the presidency?
right now it's really mixed for me. I think Carson is someone I'm really looking into. I like Rubio as well. I'm not sure if he'll be able to build up enough steam to make a push at the end, but I think Carson would be a great person. So.
Right now, I'm really stuck in between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders because they're kind of on the both ends of the party, and haven't done the investigation that I want to into either candidate quite yet. So I'm not sure who lines up with my personal beliefs.
I want Bernie Sanders to win the presidency, mainly because I agree with most of his political views. He's not taking any funding from super PACs, which I think is a major problem with a lot of the major political candidates, is that they kind of just do whatever the money's telling them to do, whereas he is a very, moral person. He's a democratic socialist, which I think I am too. He's sort of very opposed to a lot of the economic policies that are in this nation, in place in this nation right now. And I think a lot of the problems stem from that we have sort of socially, a lot of the racial tensions in this country, the inequality of pay, they all stem from these huge economic problems that could be fixed, I think, really simply. He wants to put a lot of money into education, which I think is really good. Like, we're in college right now, and it's so expensive to go to college, and he's trying to make it free at some point.
And so, did you personally choose your political views, or did you just adopt your parents' views?
No, I come from a conservative family, but with my view on the news, I'm a registered Democrat now.
And can I ask you why your views changed?
Just from how I view the different events in the world, and I come from a pretty conservative town, and I disagree with a lot of the beliefs that people have there as well. So it wasn't any one reason in particular, more of just a conglomerate of my beliefs.
Honestly, I think a lot of my views came from experience. Just coming from the Bay Area, I saw a lot of different things.
Did you personally choose your political views, or did you adopt your parents' views?
A little bit of both. My parents never really talked about politics when I was growing up, and they were actually, one was Democrat, one was Republican for the longest amount of time. So that kind of allowed me to get a little bit of both and decide what I wanted to politically identify myself as.
My parents weren't super open to me about their political views. Like, it was pretty obvious that they're pretty liberal people, but they were never, flat out oh, we're socialists, Connor, or something. So I think that's something I developed sort of late in high school. Definitely a lot of influence from friends who sort of introduced me to the topic, and then I did some research on my own, saw what I thought about it. You sort of see the state of this country right now, and for me, it makes sense.
I was raised in a rather conservative household, but as I've grown up and I've kind of strayed from that and consider myself a little more libertarian than conservative, but it's per issue. Every issue I feel definitely on is socially definitely more liberal and fiscally more conservative, but definitely kind of in the middle now. So straight from that a little bit.
And exactly why do you like Carson? Why do you think his views will be great for America?
I personally like him because he seems very honest about his things. He comes from a different non-political view, non-political background, kind of. I think we're still trying to listen more and hear a little bit more what he has to say, but I like already what he has to say about kind of healthcare, and then also having experience in that field, and then also what he has to say about foreign policy, and then international domestic policy as well. So that's what I like about him so far.
And what do you personally think about Donald Trump then?
Yeah, Donald Trump is an interesting character. I think that, yes, he has an interesting platform, and yes, he kind of says whatever is on his mind, not necessarily always politically correct, but, that I think that's what he's running off of.
Well, because everything he says is just too extreme, and there's no way that he could actually end up running the country.
He said Bernie is a socialist, so it's a little bit more liberal than what I like. So, and then I think a lot of them share actually a lot of the same viewpoints. So I fall more in line with the Republican view, even though I do agree that some Democrat viewpoints are kind of important and should be looked at. So, but I think my viewpoints kind of fall more in line with Republican than Democrat.
So, are you going to vote?
Of course.
And why is that?
Because it's a waste if you don't. If not a majority of the population votes, then how can the leader of our world really represent our interests?
Will you be voting in the upcoming election?
Oh, of course, and everyone should be voting. Primaries are coming up. Definitely don't forget about your primaries. Trying to get the Democratic candidate a good one, right? So same thing with Republicans. The Republican all the Republican candidates, there's so many, right? So we really need to get a really, really good Republican candidate to go up with a really, really good Democratic candidate. So I'm just waiting, and everyone should be voting.
Yeah, I'll be voting. Depends who it is. If it's between Trump and Sanders, I'm not really sure. But I'll definitely be voting just because of other things, not just presidential election. There's other things on the ballot.
You should all vote, and also vote. Make sure you know who you're voting for. Sometimes right now it's a little early, and even I don't know everything about the person, but I think everyone should just kind of really listen in and make an educated vote. Don't just vote because your friend tells you to vote for that person. Vote for what you believe is the best.
If you don't use your right to vote, you're pretty much saying, yeah, okay, I'm okay with whoever's president. I don't really care what happens to the country.
And so for all the other LMU students out here right now who are struggling maybe with you, if they're not sure who to vote with yet, what would you say to them right now?
That we can all get together and watch the debates together, because we got to figure this out.
All right, viewers, that's all for today's show. Thanks for watching Talk It Out, and we'll see you next time.